So we've had a go using pencil on this page here, and now we're going to go to the next page and have a go with pastel. So I'm going to start with red then, and you have to be careful, don't press too hard because they do break quite easily. And again, we're going to just try, as we did over here, we're going to try doing a graded tone. So I'm going to start off dark and try and get lighter, lighter, and lighter. Okay, you'll see that there's chalk dust there. That'll just blow away, that's okay. Then I'm going to do it again. This time I'm going to smudge it with my finger. So try and get lighter and lighter and lighter. And then I'm going to smudge from this end, from the lighter end. And then smudge towards the darker bit. Now, doesn't it blend really beautifully? It's gorgeous, isn't it? And it just has a very soft kind of texture to it. It's lovely. You can see the difference, hopefully, between how soft and blended it is here and how it looks up here, which is kind of like also highly textured. Okay, so I've just done one colour so far. I'm gonna get a colour from the same family, another warm colour, and this time what I'll do is I'll start off by doing yellow underneath. I'll smudge it a bit and I'll put a bit of red on top and see how that looks. That does just look like red on top of yellow, but let's see what happens when you smudge it. It starts to turn more orange. Starts to blend together. So you can achieve lots and lots of really beautiful effects with chalk pastels. Yeah, so I would experiment with different colours and doing them different ways. You could also, I held it a bit like a pencil there where I did the end of it, but you could also put it on its side like this. You could make bigger marks like this, see? And I'm going to get lighter and lighter and lighter. There you go. You could choose to blend that or choose to leave it as it is. I think I'll leave that one as it is. You could start to blend in other colours with it. There's a bit of green over the top of that one. Okay, as you can see, it looks like blue kind of blending into green now. But it kind of looks like a rough textured surface, doesn't it? And this, whereas this, where you use your finger, it's really nice and smooth. So I imagine then with Georgia O'Keeffe's pictures, because they're flowers and the texture looks very smooth and kind of velvety, doesn't it? For all these flowers, you'll probably want to smudge it, but perhaps you want a range of effects on yours too. We'll see. All right, so I've gone for this one. So as you can see, it looks like quite a simplified form, but kind of a little bit spiky, I guess. And I just wanted to look at the middle bit there. So I'm going to concentrate on that. But I think what I'll do is I'll take the viewfinder off just so we can see the whole thing the whole time. So first job, as we did with the first drawing, is to just draw it out with your sketching pencil. Okay, so with chalk, you might choose to start from the top down, which is a good idea because when your hand is touching work that you've already done, it will start to smudge it. So that's a good idea. You might choose to start from the darkest bit and work outwards. That's okay, but again, your hand will smudge other bits that are higher up when you're going over it. So for me, I like to start from the top down. So I'm going to go for this lighter red here. And I think what I'll do is I'll just start by putting it on the side. And I'm going to put this kind of pinkish red. I'm just going to put it nearly everywhere at the top. I'm not worrying too much about going over the pencil lines. I've still got an idea where things are. All right, so that's given me a mid-tone, which means halfway between dark and halfway between light, which I've smudged, and then what I can do is I can make dark bits darker and light bits lighter. So I'll use the same chalk. So up here you can see it's darker at the edges. Yeah, it's darker at the edges of these leaves. So I'm going to try and just make it darker at the edges here. There we go, and then blend it in a bit. Press lighter and lighter and lighter. There we go. There's one. I'll do this next one here. And hopefully you can see straight away that it starts to look like you've got one spiky leaf overlapping the one underneath. So the one I'm working on now, hopefully already starts to look like it's above this one. There we go. Now, there are some white bits here on Georgia O'Keeffe's that you can't see on mine. Well, you can put those back in with your rubber. So this is quite light here, so and you can create highlights this way. So highlights means lighter sections. Always blow the rubber away as well. There we go. And I'm creating a lighter bit here too. Remember, your sketchbook is a place to experiment. It's a place to just practice these things. You don't have to worry about getting it exactly like the artist that you're trying to copy. So, once again, what I did was I started off with a mid-tone where I just used it this way and just lightly went over a large area near the top. And I smudged it with my finger just like that. And then I started looking for the darker areas of that leaf. So it's always that spiky point. Look for the darker areas, go over those, press a bit harder, and then go lighter and lighter and lighter. Blend it in a little bit, and then to get the really light bits, where they're almost white, get your rubber and just rub those bits out. So here I'm going to try and start using a second colour. As you can see, Georgia O'Keeffe used some black here. So I'm doing the same thing. I've just started trying to follow. I keep looking at her picture, trying to follow where to put the black. I press harder where it's darkest. And then as she's done, I'm going to try and blend it in a little bit. And how do we do it? Well, blow away the excess dust and then use your finger, as we've already been doing. Now, I don't want that black colour to go too far. I don't want it to go all the way up here because there is no black up there. So I'm being careful to keep the black around here, even though I'm blending it. You probably will find as well that with pastel, the bigger the better. So I've used just half a sketchbook page here. To be honest, it probably wasn't big enough. If I could do this again, I'd use a whole sketchbook page, or I'd even use cartridge paper that's A3 size instead, or even sugar paper where you get even bigger sizes. You might find it easier. So there we go. I've managed to blend that in a bit, but it blends straight into this kind of pinkish reddish colour. So I'll put some of that pinkish reddish colour into it. And one of the brilliant things about pastels is that they do mix. They will blend together and make new colours. Hopefully you can already see this has made a darker, kind of like a darker pink down here. And so because I said you can put one colour on top of another, you can keep going with it. So some bits aren't dark enough, or you've smudged them and they're not dark anymore. Doesn't matter, you can re-smudge it and redraw it, just as I'm doing now. I'm doing some of these darker lines in again. Get them back in there. And there you go. So we've got something similar to Georgia O'Keeffe's approach. I just put 1 or 2 highlights back in. Okay, I think I'll just about leave it there. Yeah, so give it a go, try different colours. I only use 2 colours in this one. I'd say in the beginning, restrict yourself to 1 or 2 colours just until you start to get used to it, and then start to bring in other colours. And like I say, the bigger the better, because they're quite chunky, the pastels, and it'll be easier for you to blend and smooth things out on larger sheets of paper. Okay, have fun.